What if all cars on Earth suddenly became electric overnight? No warning, no transition period, no government plan, not even a polite email. You go to bed listening to your neighbor's rusty diesel growl like an angry dragon, and you wake up to a world so quiet it feels like someone pressed the universal mute button. At first, it seems like paradise. The morning commute becomes a peaceful glide instead of a smoky brawl. The smell of exhaust fumes is replaced with, well, nothing. Even the pigeons look confused, as if wondering why they can finally hear their own thoughts. But as you step outside and look around your silent neighborhood, you start to realize that something about this sudden shift feels just a little too calm.
The first thing you notice is the silence. Not the normal early morning peace silence, but the eerie, cinematic kind you hear right before something explodes. Cars slide past like ghosts, barely whispering across the road. Delivery vans don't grumble anymore. Motorcycles don't roar. Your uncle's ancient Toyota doesn't announce its approach from 2 suburbs away. For the first time in history, humanity has defeated noise pollution. Unfortunately, we've created a brand new problem. People keep walking into moving cars because they simply don't hear them coming. Within hours, governments pass emergency laws requiring electric vehicles to make some kind of artificial sound. Suddenly, the streets are filled with cars humming like cheerful robots, meowing like cats, or, in the case of one especially chaotic neighborhood, blasting 8-bit video game sound effects every time they accelerate.
Meanwhile, gas stations wake up to the worst Monday in the history of Mondays. Their pumps don't work anymore. Their tanks are useless. Their entire business model collapses overnight. And they have to improvise. Some convert into giant charging cafés where people sit for an hour sipping overpriced cappuccinos while their cars recharge. Others turn into battery swap stations, where attendants sprint around like Formula One pit crews, pulling out battery packs and slamming in new ones while trying not to get electrocuted. A few, more desperate stations rebrand themselves as retro energy museums, charging admission for tourists to stare at ancient plastic fuel nozzles.
Of course, not everyone is thrilled. Car enthusiasts who used to gather in parking lots to rev their engines like modern-day gladiators now stand quietly beside their silent electric vehicles, trying to convince each other that the low hum of a motor spinning at 18,000 RPM is just as exciting as the roar of a V8. One guy insists that his new EV can totally growl if you listen closely, while another pretends he doesn't miss the smell of burning rubber. Meanwhile, drag strips become eerily tranquil. Races turn into silent duels, like 2 ninjas sprinting through the night. Spectators applaud politely, because without the engine noise, it feels wrong to cheer loudly.
But it's not all awkward transitions and nostalgic engine lovers. The environment experiences the biggest plot twist in recorded history. Air quality improves so fast that people in megacities begin seeing stars they didn't know existed. Birds return to places they abandoned decades ago. Even the trees seem happier, swaying like they just got a raise. Scientists celebrate, and climate conferences finally have something upbeat to talk about. The world's CO2 emissions suddenly drop like a rock. In fact, environmental groups throw impromptu street parties powered entirely by solar fairy lights. However, nature isn't the only winner. Electricity demand skyrockets, turning power grids into overworked, sleep-deprived interns. Cities scramble to upgrade infrastructure. Engineers work around the clock, plugging gaps, reinforcing networks, and occasionally yelling at transformers that threaten to explode from stress. Renewable energy becomes the new gold rush. Solar farms pop up faster than conspiracy theories on the internet. Wind turbines spin heroically, powering millions of cars, and also confusing cows, who stare at the giant spinning blades like oversized alien fans.
Then there's the oil industry. Overnight, countries that depended on exporting gasoline find themselves with billions of barrels nobody wants. Global markets go wild. Economists faint. Politicians panic. A few creative nations attempt to turn their surplus oil into novelty items, like historical fuel candles or petroleum-scented nostalgia perfume. But sales are, let's say, disappointing. Eventually, the world realizes that the fossil fuel era ended not with a slow, careful transition, but with a comedic crash cut.
Transportation transforms completely. Cities redesign themselves around clean mobility. Roads get quieter, cleaner, and safer. People rediscover outdoor cafes because nobody's getting choked by exhaust. Children can finally play outside without inhaling the equivalent of a diesel smoothie. Autonomous electric buses glide through neighborhoods like gentle, oversized pets. Delivery drones buzz overhead, delivering packages so fast that you regret ordering things impulsively at 3 a.m.
And yet, despite all these changes, some chaotic, some beautiful, the biggest shift happens inside people's minds. For the first time, humanity collectively realizes that progress can be both terrifying and exciting. One night changed everything. But instead of collapsing into panic, society adapted, improvised, and upgraded. The world became quieter, cleaner, and a little bit stranger. People learned to live with silent cars, electric roads, and charging stations that serve suspiciously fancy coffee.
So what if all cars became electric overnight? You'd wake up in a world where the future didn't knock politely, it kicked down the door and plugged itself in. A world where silence is golden, the air is breathable, and the only real danger is forgetting that electric cars don't make any noise as they glide straight toward you.